have you been teaching in Cupertino Middle School?
This is my 10th year teaching in Cupertino Middle School.
Cool. What subject are you teaching?
I teach science, 6th grade science, and 6th grade electives wheel, and 8th grade yearbook class.
How many classes do you teach in a typical day?
I have 6 classes of students, but I only teach 3 subjects in one day.
Okay. Do you think middle schoolers should use smartphones during class?
Sometimes they're very helpful because sometimes we need to look things up, and so middle schoolers can look up information using the web browser. A lot of times they use the calculators on their smartphones, which is or any phone, which is really helpful. So I think if they use them responsibly, then it's okay to use them in class.
Okay. Do you ever see anyone using their phones in your class, like secretly?
Not too often, because I think my students know the ways that they're supposed to be using them and that they're expected to use them correctly. So not very often. Every once in a while, a student's using it and for like taking a picture or maybe playing a game, but not too often.
Oh, okay. Is that a problem to you?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think it's really disrespectful for students to use it to like text or play games if they're supposed to be doing work or if the teacher's talking in front of the room. It shows that they don't think what they're being asked to do is very important. And it means that they're off task, so they're not learning what they're supposed to be learning. So in those ways, it's a problem.
When do you start seeing students using their phones in your class? Like a couple of years ago, months ago, or recently?
I'd say like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, students started using the calculators. And then in the last 2 years, students have started using it for like web browsing and stuff like that. And then this year, we actually asked students to use their phones in class because we don't have enough computers for every student. So that was being used as a form of like a computer that they had.
Okay. If in the future this problem pops up, do you have any way to prevent it?
So the problem of them using their phones irresponsibly?
Yeah.
Okay. I suppose, the school has students sign a contract, and so and that's saying that they'll use it in only the ways that they're supposed to use it or expected to use it, and so if they break that, then they can have their phone taken away. We used to take phones away anytime that we saw them out, and we would send them up to the office, and then students' parents would have to come and pick them up. So I suppose we'd probably go back to that for students who constantly use their phones irresponsibly.
Do you think this is a growing problem in schools worldwide?
Yeah, but I think it's also, students using phones can be very powerful to education, just when students are using it in the way that they're supposed to. And so I think schools have to figure out how to handle it. And it probably differs with different kinds of students. So if you have a school where your students are pretty responsible, then there might not be as many problems. But if you have a school where students have trouble following the rules, then it might be harder to have them fill those expectations.
Okay. What do you think the schools can do for this issue?
Probably make sure that their expectations are clear so that students know exactly what is okay to do with their phones and what is not okay to do with their phones. And then making sure that the consequences that come along with doing things that aren't okay are also very clear.
Oh, okay. Do you think that the students should use phones for educational reasons?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, are you concerned of students being tempted to play games or texting on their phone?
I'm not in my classes. I don't feel the concern so much, just because I feel like my students know what is okay and what is not okay. I mean, it's happened, and in that case, those cases, the students have received consequences. But for the most part, I'm not afraid of them doing what's wrong, because I think that they know that that's not okay.
Oh, okay. Do you have a way to restrict them to only use the tools?
Well, they could put it on airplane mode, and that would not allow them to not text, but it also wouldn't allow them to use the internet. So that could have its pros and cons. But I don't know. That might be something to look into. Is having phones maybe have like an educational lock, so they could use like the internet, or they could use educational apps, but they couldn't use like texting or phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
That might be a good idea. Maybe you should invent it.
No.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. Okay, thank you. It helps me a lot on my project.
Good.
And thank you for using your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.